Welcome to the Thornton Review.
The show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us.
Sheriff Chip Simmons was born on a military base in Iceland. His family moved to Pensacola when he was in the 3rd grade. He graduated from Pine Forest High School and went on to Pensacola Junior College. He received his bachelor's degree in criminal justice and his master's degree in public administration, both from Troy State University, and later graduated from the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Chip worked as a corrections officer for the Escambia County Sheriff's Office before beginning his career with the Pensacola Police Department in 1986. During his career, he was promoted through the ranks as sergeant, lieutenant, and then captain. In 2005, he became assistant chief and was appointed police chief in 2010. Chip has always been very active with community involvement and has been a member on several boards and organizations. His performance in the line of duty has made Chip one of the most decorated officers in Pensacola police history. After retiring as police chief in 2015, he took the position as assistant county administrator, then chief deputy sheriff. Chip was elected Escambia County Sheriff in 2020 and won re-election in 2024. During his time as sheriff, he has implemented a modern law enforcement model with an award-winning engagement platform and new programs to aggressively fight crime and keep Escambia County a safe place to live and work. Hi, I'm Pueschel Schneier, executive producer and manager of the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. On today's show, we have Escambia County Sheriff Chip Simmons in the studio with us. So, Sheriff Simmons, it is great to have you on the show again. You were on about a year and a half ago.
Has it been that long?
Yep, yeah. And a lot's changed since then, I'm sure. So we have a lot to cover. Let's start by please introduce yourself.
Well, as you said, Chip Simmons. I'm the current elected sheriff of Escambia County. I've been in law enforcement about 40 years, maybe a little bit over 40 years. I spent almost 30 years at the Pensacola Police Department, where I retired as the chief of police. Worked for a couple of years with the Board of County Commissioners as the assistant county administrator. 4 years as chief deputy of the sheriff's office, ran for office. And I am now in my second term. I just began my second term. I was elected uncontested, so I'm very proud of that, very proud of the work that we're doing.
Great. Well, nice to have you on.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we will begin our discussion with Escambia County Sheriff Chip Simmons. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to begin our discussion with Escambia County Sheriff Chip Simmons. So Chip, I want to dive right into the Blazer Academy because that to me is so important to, harness young men and get them involved in something good and to teach them about law enforcement and possibly, begin their career. So can you explain the Blazer Academy? Who is eligible? How long, what is the duration? What do they learn? And why is it called the Blazer Academy?
Well, let's start with the Blazer Academy. It is something that we are so proud of. And it's a mentorship program, but I think to really understand what we do with it, you have to understand why I started the Blazer Academy. I'll start with, after I first got elected, we were having a series of town halls about gun violence and what can be done. So I wanted the input from the community. So we held 6 town hall meetings in Brownsville, but basically without exception, people came up with their input, with their suggestions, and it was all about mentorship. It was about parenting. It's about what we can do with this next generation before they get to a situation where they're into drugs or violence, or gun violence. And so I thought, the sheriff's office, we're a law enforcement agency. We respond to calls. We arrest the bad guys. But as I began to think about it more, I thought, I used to coach football. And at the end of practice, and many times before practice, I'd have the kids come up and they gather around and we talk about the plays, we talk about the games, we talk about homework and different things, and then we talked about life. We talked about how I can help them, because many of these kids didn't have a mentor. I was the mentor.
Right.
We were the mentor as coaches. Many of them come from broken homes, and they didn't have someone at home that they could talk to about even the smallest question, like how to microwave, a frozen dinner,
Right,
or which pants go with which belt, or just the simple things. Should I ask this person out on a date? What do I do if I talk to their parents, and how do I introduce myself? So I thought, I could maybe replicate that. I could form a mentorship program that would mimic what they might get from a parent or a grandparent.
Sure.
And so I said, let's elevate it from week 1 to week 6. So the things they learn on week 1, we'll multiply that in week 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I also wanted to give them an opportunity to look their very best. So the thought was that we would increase the dress that they have until ultimately they're wearing a blazer, because a blazer to me is kind of a universal, professional, casual, and many times you
Dignified
act as good as you
look.
feel.
Yeah.
Right. So I said, let's have an academy. Let's call it the academy, but let's call it a Blazer Academy, because
I love
ultimately
it.
that's the goal.
That's a great name. Yeah.
Thank you. And it makes great pictures, and
Yeah.
and the kids. I'll give you an example. The first class we had, we all put the blazer. They all put the blazers on, and we had our own blazers. And we were going down to the Sanger Theater for our graduation, and I heard one of the kids look and talk to the other kid and said, "Man, we look like $1 million."
Yep.
And that was what it's
Oh, that's
about. It's
good,
about
yeah.
that confidence, and from the first week to the last week, that's what we do. We use our unique perspective of law enforcement, because there's not much we haven't seen. Collectively,
Sure.
the instructors are all employees of the sheriff's office, all come from various backgrounds, but we also have different specialties. I spent most of my time in a narcotics investigation and SWAT team, and others spent a lot of time in SROs. Some spent time in community services, and so we all have that unique perspective.
Sure.
But we all wanted to help. We all wanted to talk. We all wanted to be a positive influence for these kids. So getting to your question, I wanted it to be the kids that are not quite driving yet, but they're old enough to understand some of the mature
14-ish,
themes.
14,
so it's
15.
13, 14, and 15-year-olds. And so
That's
we
a
have had
perfect
bunch of
age to
classes.
get them.
Yeah, it's not
And-
too late, not too early.
Yeah, and to just be a positive influence in their lives, and to show them what it's like to actually, dress like you look like you're $1 million,
Dress for
and
success.
to act like
Yeah.
and to teach. That's
So
amazing. That's
it
good.
gets a lot of fanfare. We were the state of Florida mentoring program of the year, which we are very proud of. But we continue to be flexible. We continue to do a little bit more, and we've branched out. We no longer just have a young men's Blazer Academy. We have a young ladies Blazer Academy as well, and so same model, same everything. The little different themes, and our instructors are mostly women in that class, so there are some differences, obviously. And then last Tuesday, we just finished our very first Alumni Academy, because we had 6 total classes for the young men, and we decided, let's see what they're doing now. Let's see what they're
Yeah.
doing as a
Follow
16-year-old,
up.
as 17, and some 18-year-olds, and let's talk to you. with even more mature themes, a little bit of employment type preparation. And then we gave them a green blazer instead of a blue blazer. So theoretically, they should have 2 blazers with many options for going forward.
So how many people are, well, first off, how many times a year do you do the Blazer Academy?
We started having, we had 2 male blazer academies, then we had a male and a female. This year we've had a male blazer academy, a female blazer academy, and then the alumni academy I just mentioned. So we'll probably have 3 a year, 3 total, but we'll mix and match. Sometimes 2 boys and 1 girls, sometimes one boy and 2 girls, and sometimes we'll add the alumni academy in there.
And it's like one day a week for 6 weeks?
Yes, it's on Tuesday evenings, 5:30 to about 7:30 for 6 weeks. Yeah. Now the graduation is unique in that we meet there, but then we go down to the Sanger Theater typically to have a
real
graduation
stage and make it all official. That's great.
Yeah. Well, it's about giving kids the experiences they've never had. And sometimes that is talking in front of a group, at a podium. Sometimes that's wearing a blazer. Sometimes that's tying a tie. Sometimes it's manufacturing a scenario where they would have a job interview. But sometimes it's riding on a bus going down to the Sanger Theater, being on that stage. And then sometimes it's eating at a finer dining establishment, because after graduation we go across the street to the Global Grill, and then we have that they have that
Graduation
experience.
dinner. That's great.
Right. It works out very well for us.
How do people sign up for the Blazer Academy?
Well, originally it was just through our Facebook page, our social media platforms, but it was filling up so fast we have to alert parents that, hey, we're going to open registration for a male or a female Blazer Academy starting a week from that day, and then we will actually advertise a week later, and it fills up pretty quickly. So we would ask people to pay attention to our social media platforms for those the opening registration.
Is there any criteria that the kids have to meet in order to be accepted to the Blazer Academy? Just anybody can
Not
join?
at all. Not at all. There's the perception sometimes that it is disadvantaged or at-risk youth, and that's not the case. While we do have some that are in that situation, because we have some partnerships with some other mentorship programs, and we obviously open it up to them. But you don't have to be you don't have to be poor, you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be anything.
I would have had David in that if it
Right,
was
if you would
going
have
on.
it.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people saying that, well, that's something that we would have loved to have had. In fact, this time we've done evaluations. The Girls Academy used to start doing evaluations, and I'm like, that's a good idea. I'm not afraid to steal a good idea, so we're starting to do that with both academies now. And pretty much the only critique is it wasn't long enough. Could we add an extra day to it? Because the Alumni Academy is only 3 weeks, because I didn't know how much we would have to do, but it worked out very well, so we're going to increase the length of that as well.
Yeah. Well, it's such a positive influence. Too bad it's not something that you could just do year round, But I mean, time is of the essence. I'm sure that it's time consuming and workload for the people at the department. It's
well, if you
6
want to do
weeks
something right, you got to pour your heart into it. You got to put your time into it. And you're right. Considering all the other things we do at the sheriff's office, I think we kind of stretch it to have 3 academies a year.
So that's a great thing to have. So what other programs do you have? What about a recruitment academy? Do you have?
A little bit. But yeah. Speaking of academies, we have what we call Dream Big. It's a program. It's usually on Saturdays. We usually have 3 of these a year, and we do have the Blazer Academy, obviously, and that is for 13, 14, and 15-year-olds. I wanted something for that we can reach out to those a little bit younger, and in fact those who maybe have a desire to be in law enforcement, but don't know how to do that. So we have a Dream Big program. It is for 5 to 11-year-olds, and we have it 3 times a year, and it's an immersive type of 5-stage. So mini police academy and we call them junior deputies. We give them a shirt. We have 5 different locations they go to. One is on core values that we go over: courtesy, integrity, professionalism. We have an obstacle course. We have a canine area. We have a crime scene area. We have a vehicle operation. So it gives them a chance.
So it's physically involved to get
a little bit,
moving around.
It's the obstacle course is not that extensive, but it does give them an idea for what a law enforcement officer has to do. But they get to sit in the car, they get to run the sirens, they get to pet the dogs, and they get to do the things, see the crime scene operations, see the things that they might see. And then in the end, we give them an ID card, and we declare that they are a junior deputy. So there's the Blazer Academy, there's a Dream Big, which is the Junior Deputy Academy. And then, as you mentioned, we have our very own Police Academy. We started about a couple of years ago training our own recruits, which means if you're eligible to be a deputy, we will hire you and we'll put you through our own training academy. Historically, it has been operated by another entity, but we petitioned the state of Florida to have our own training academy, and it has worked out wonderfully.
Awesome. So now, as far as the Sorrento Road, not to change the subject too drastically, but there's been issues with traffic on Sorrento Road. And has the Sheriff's Office been working with County Commission or any other agency to help curb the traffic crashes on Sorrento Road? What's being done about that?
Right. Well, we hear, there are complaints from different people on speeding in certain neighborhoods. Let's talk a little bit about jurisdiction. The Sheriff's Office we have radar, we work radar, we have authority, obviously. But there's also the Florida Highway Patrol, whose sole purpose is traffic crashes, traffic enforcement. They do a lot on the interstates, obviously. DUIs, and again, as I mentioned before, they do the traffic and traffic homicide. So we work some, the Highway Patrol works some. So the information that I got during a recent town hall meeting was information from the Highway Patrol, because they work the traffic crashes. And what we found was that there were a couple of traffic related homicides, not traffic homicide, which is basically a crash, a deadly crash. And the results of those were that was individuals that were under the influence. The speed wasn't necessarily a factor. So what we wanted to do was let's take a look at speed.
If you're under the influence and someone is killed, it's considered a homicide?
It's a traffic homicide, A homicide is anything that is not attended through an act of someone else, basically. So we call those traffic homicides. When I worked at the police department, we did work crashes, and we have traffic homicide investigators. We call them THIs. They're certified individuals that are trained to work the measurements and compute the speeds, and used to have a lot
total
of skid marks
investigation
and all
to find
sorts
out
of things
exactly
like that.
what happened.
Yeah, they're the experts in the field. So we contacted them, reached out to them, got the information on the couple of fatalities that we had. And found that, again, that wasn't speed related, but we didn't stop there. We put what we call a speed trailer, which is those small trailers that have the speed, you're going this fast, but we also post the speed limit on top of that, so people know, that they're going too fast. But what it also does is it will keep track of the speeds. It'll tell you how many vehicles per hour, how many vehicles are going under the speed limit, what's the fastest vehicle that was tracked during that period of time. And that's what we were able to do and get that, and determine that there was only one car speeding over a 3 or 4 hour
gathering
speeding.
information in order to figure out a plan of action that's going to help.
Right, to get the information, because information is everything. And then, our job is not to determine whether you should pave a road or increase the shoulders. It's to say, this is what we see on that particular road. So it's not just Sorrento, it's on every road. It's on Gulf Beach, it's on 9 Mile Road, Highway 29. We do the same thing. We have speed trailers in a number of neighborhoods, and just to remind people that kids may be at play or school's back in session and you're going a little bit too fast. So, and most of the time when people see that flashing, they'll look at their speedometer and they'll hit the brakes. Hopefully they'll hit the brakes. And I noticed that we see that on the camera, on the speed tracker itself, that they do slow down. And again, what we'll do is look at it. Also give us an opportunity to decide when we're going to run radar. So we do have the opportunity. Our traffic division and all of our uniform patrol cars do have an opportunity to run radar. And this information will say, okay, it looks like the faster vehicles are going between 1 and 2 in the morning, or it's going for people going to school or to work. So we'll run radar during that time to give them the proper enforcement at the proper time.
So ICE. Is the Escambia County Sheriff's Office working with ICE to arrest illegal aliens and deport them?
Well, I'll tell you that every sheriff's office, all 67 counties, every sheriff's office is part of a 287 program, which means that we can assist ICE when they call and they need us. So here locally, we haven't really been called very much. We've been called a couple of times. So we're committed to helping other law enforcement agencies. We have always done that, whether it is the Pensacola Police Department, the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. whether it's a state agency like Florida Department of Law Enforcement, as I mentioned, the Florida Highway Patrol, but also our federal partners in the FBI and DEA, and now ICE. We have task force agreements with all these agencies. So what we're going to do, what we need to do to assist other law enforcement agencies, and at this point there are opportunities to assist ICE. We've done it a couple times, but again, they're the experts. They have the list of people that they're looking for. They know what they're doing, and they have a task. And,
So
and
they
if
have
they
a
need our
list
help,
of
we will help.
They have a list of illegal aliens
Yes.
across the county. I mean, across the United
Across the
States.
country, right?
And so, do they know? They don't necessarily know where they are. Like, they don't have a list of the illegal aliens who are here in Escambia County necessarily, correct? Or do they?
I believe
Or
that they
might?
do have a list.
do?
And I do think that they know where to find them. It's like our warrant section. We have a list of people that are wanted, and we have a last known address, and where we have specifically for the violent offenders, where we're going to be on them, and we're going to do what we can to find them, whether it's at work or at home or at play, wherever it's going to be. And so my understanding is ICE has that same information. They have the same dogged determination to get the people that have warrants, and some of these people are violent felons. Some of the ones that they're looking for, the same ones we're looking for, because they committed a felony, a violent felony in Escambia County. So whether ICE is with us or not, we're looking for those individuals with violent felony warrants on them.
Sure.
We'll put them in jail, and then the jail notifies
ICE.
us. We don't run the jail. Board of County Commissioners runs the jail here in Escambia County.
And they
So we just
notify
put them-
ICE
They're required to
that-
notify ICE that there's an individual that has a hold on them for ICE.
And then ICE comes and transports them somewhere else.
Yeah, again, that's between.
But that's not up to
that's
you,
the ICE,
yeah.
but we don't deal with that at this point. So the once they've completed their
You just do the
their
arresting.
sentence,
And
yes.
then it's out of your hands. They're arrested, and then whoever else is in charge of the illegal aliens.
There's a
finds-
process, yeah.
yeah.
Once they've completed their what they need to complete here in Escambia County, whether it's going to trial, whether it's serving a sentence, it could be going to state prison. But once they've completed that, and then the county jail will notify ICE and say, hey, we're done with this person. You can come get them if you still want them. And then ICE or immigration, they will decide, first of all, whether to come pick them up, and secondly, they'll decide where to take them.
We're going to take a commercial break, but I've got a load of questions to ask you afterwards. For explaining that, we're going to take a commercial break. And the Thornton Review is a civic engagement show with a purpose to spread awareness by interviewing local elected officials, candidates, and professional leaders. This is information you won't get anywhere else. You can watch the Thornton Review on our various outlets. Our website, thethorntonreview.com. On Vimeo, please follow the Thornton Review. On YouTube, please subscribe to the Thornton Review at the Thornton Review 7810. Please like our Facebook page, The Thornton Review Show. On TV, WBQP channels 12.1 and 12.8, and WBQP on Roku and Fire Stick. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Escambia County Sheriff Chip Simmons. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in. We're going to continue our discussion with Sheriff Chip Simmons. So I just have a simple little question. How is the crime rate gauged? Is it by the number of arrests or by the number of reported crimes? Because there are tons of crimes, I'm sure, that go unreported every year, and that, if they were reported, it would definitely change the crime rate. But how are the statistics gauged?
They're gauged based upon the number of reported crimes
Per
per 100,000 population. So, like to your point, if someone gets their car stolen, then that's a grand theft. They will report that, and it goes in as a UCR, a Uniform Crime Report. So that's 1 per 100,000. And then the rate is typically, again, dependent upon how many people in your population, and then they divide it in violent crime and non-violent crime, or nuisance crimes. They have a bunch of different categories. In fact, the state of Florida is transitioning to what's called a NIBRS and a FIBRS type of a reporting, which is going to be consistent with an FBI report, so that everything will be consistent. You won't have one state doing one type of reporting and then another state doing another type of reporting. But from a law enforcement stance, the crime rate is what you kind of live and breathe with. People want to know how much crime is being reported. What is the crime that you're seeing in your specific community? We concentrate on the violent crime. The thought there is the violent crime, starts with the non-violent crime, the grand theft and stuff.
Well, I figured that was your priority, is violent crime.
Right.
And drugs. So I read in the news recently that you closed down a drug house. Congratulations. How many drug houses do we have in Escambia County? How many have you closed also?
Too many. Let's say there's probably too many.
We don't need any.
Like any community, drugs, specifically fentanyl, has become all the rage. And what we need to do is, we obviously follow the law, and we can't just go and kick a door into a house we think is a drug house. We have to have probable cause, and we have to have the ability to obtain a search warrant, which is a court order from a judge saying you will go and you will search this house because we think that there is this drug located in this house. So when we post that we have shut down a drug house, it's because through the investigation we're able to obtain a search warrant, and we're able to knock on the door. With it, most of they open the door. Sometimes we have to kick the door in, but we knock first, obviously, and we announce who we are, and then we will shut down this drug house. A lot of times we'll show the number of people that were in the house. We'll show the amount of drugs that we seized from the house. Many times there are weapons associated with that as well. So we'll display that because we want the people to know the hard work and the courage that's displayed by their sheriff's office, by the men and women that work at the taxpayer's expense. But I want them to know what we're doing. I want us to be as transparent as we possibly can. Again, because it's a very difficult job on a good day. On a great day, it's very difficult.
I cannot imagine. And
very dangerous. It can. You've seen the reports, and you've seen some of our reports, even locally, that deputies get injured all the time, just trying to do the job, 24 hours a day, day and night.
So, what made you decide? What was the spark that made you decide to go into law enforcement?
I was born overseas on a Navy base. My father was in uniform service, and I always thought, I like the idea of wearing a uniform to work. I like the idea of serving and doing something important with my life. And so all throughout my early adulthood, all the early years and into adulthood, I thought I would either join the military or I'd be in law enforcement. So I applied for law enforcement, and I was fortunate enough to have been selected pretty quickly to work at the sheriff's office, actually as a corrections officer for 2 years, before I went to the Pensacola Police Department to work out in the Uniform Patrol Division. So just the ability to help, the desire to be able to stick up for the little guy, and to stop people that might be bullying others, and to help people that are in distress.
So from early on, from childhood, you decided that you wanted to make law enforcement your life, your career, and to be a positive influence, and to help keep the community safe for people who work and live in Escambia County. You grew up in Escambia County.
Yes. Yeah, I've been here. Well, again, we were a military family, so we went from Iceland to Key West, the Naval Air Station in Key West, and then back to Pensacola. So I've been everything early on. Since the 3rd grade. I have been a resident of Escambia County. I went to Bellevue Elementary, I went to Bellevue Middle School, Pine Forest High School, Pensacola Junior College at the time,
Yep.
now Pensacola State College. So I'm as local as you know as most people are, and I love this community. So I wanted to serve here locally, where my family is, where my friends are, where I grew up, the streets that I drove when I first got my driver's license, the playgrounds that we played ball in. I wanted that to be like it was when I grew up. I wanted the kids to be able to run around the streets and to only go in when the street lights went on. I want that to be the Escambia County, that future generations can have those memories just like I do.
Yeah, you have a vested interest in the community. This is your place. This is my town too. I grew up here also.
Right.
So I appreciate you for that.
And my two boys were both born and raised here, and I got 4 grandchildren now, and they're going to be raised in this area as well.
Yeah, so over the years, you and I have both seen a lot of changes here and there. I like to get back to basics, you know, back to basics with the school, back to basics with the government, local government in general. And a lot of times I don't feel that adding more layers of government is the issue, is like going to solve anything for certain, like for traffic crosswalks, you know, with the lights and the sirens and everything. I think that personal accountability plays a huge role in any community. You know, parents need to teach their kids how to cross the street, for example. If you can't see the driver's eyes, you know, if you're not making eye contact, if they can't see your eyes, they can't see you. So there's just varying degrees of government, layers of government that can help us and protect us, because we can't have just mother government protecting every aspect of our lives.
I think so. I think that when you look at our forefathers, they believed in God, they believed in limited government, but they also believed in, you know, locals, you know, determining their future and what they want in a government. I believe in the Constitution. I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of Florida and the United States, and I think that that's very important. I think that as an elected official, I take that very serious. I'm representing every single person, whether they voted for me or not, in Escambia County. And so my job is law enforcement. My job is not necessarily to create laws, and that's why I'm kind of reluctant to give my opinion sometimes, because I think that we have these layers of government, and let's let that work. Let's let that play out. Let's see what happens. Whenever you talk, you listen to the people and what the people want. Let's follow the rule of law, and also let's say when someone's responsible for something, let's say they're responsible for it. Particularly when you have a crime, a lot of people want to point fingers at this and that, and most of the time there's more than one cause of that. You know, you could, if you wanted to, you could push back at early childhood, at pre-kindergarten, at parenting, but there is a level of personal responsibility, and I say that a lot when I do my press conferences, and I'll say, this is the person that's responsible. This is the person that decided on this date at this time that they're going to commit a crime. They know it was a crime, that's why they ran from law enforcement. They knew it was a crime, that's why they brought a weapon. They knew it was a crime because they hid in darkness to do it. And when you do these types of things, when you make these types of decisions, you are the person that's responsible for that crime. And I think we should stand up as a society and say, what you did was wrong, it's unacceptable, and you know, you're going to go to jail for that. You're going to go through the court system. A judge is going to sentence you, and while we feel for the families that have to go through this sort of thing, my job is to look after the people that don't, the 99.9% of people that don't commit a crime, and look after the victims and can consider what they have had to go through. And I think that's why it's important.
To keep the community safe and secure.
Right.
And to punish the evildoer, to capture the evildoer.
To hold them accountable.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Right.
So now, regarding drug houses, where are these drugs coming from? Like, where are these ingredients coming from that these people are getting to make the drugs? Can't that be stopped?
Well, it's coming from a number of places, but majority of the drugs that we see here are coming from Mexico. And when we had a looser border over a couple of years, a lot of it is just poured into our country. But even with a strong border, it still comes into our country. Some of it comes from California, but the majority of the drugs that we see are coming from Mexico. You ask if it can be stopped. You know, we've been trying for years to try to stop it. and we've been able to slow it down some. I can tell that when we make a major drug investigation, a major drug bust here in Escambia County, then if it's big enough, then we can see a lull in the available drugs here in our community. But we have to stay on it. That's why we have to, the partnerships that we have with the DEA, so that we're just looking for people that are using drugs, fentanyl. We want to get the people that are distributing the drugs here locally, or what I call the mid-level distributor. But we also want to know, I want to know who's bringing it here, and let's work with DEA and let's go back to the source, and so that we can try to eliminate that.
So as far as the drug houses, what happens with the houses after all of these people are arrested and removed from the house? Are they a lot of times renting the house and the owner doesn't know, or are they abandoned, vacant houses? What?
Well, yes, but the majority of those are rented, or it's someone staying with another individual. Sometimes it's children, grandchildren staying with mother and father, or grandma and grandpa.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll determine whether those individuals knew, and whether some of the drug proceeds went towards the purchase of the house or the rent of the house. If it went towards that, we don't seize houses at the sheriff's office. We typically we don't keep houses at the sheriff's office. We will auction those off if we're able to determine that drug proceeds were used to purchase that property, that house or that car. Then we will seize that, and then we will file in a court, in a circuit court, to keep that house, but only to auction it off, and then that money will go towards our law enforcement trust fund, which is by statute goes towards drug reduction. So the irony there is we can kick a door in and arrest an individual for doing drugs because the house was bought with drugs, and then what we will do is we'll seize the house, conceivably, and then we can put that money towards elimination of drugs. So it's all in that cycle.
So yeah, and once they're arrested, it's kind of out of your hands, because then they have to go through the court system.
Right.
Then they go to jail. Then they get out, and it's not up to you to keep them in jail and to keep them off the streets. It's up to you to arrest them again when they do something bad. So I've heard a lot of people blame the sheriff's department for recidivism, like people who repeat crimes, but it's not you. You can't do anything about that. It's legislation. It's keeping them in jail, especially the ones that have the long rap sheets.
Right. Yeah, it's true that we arrest people that have a rather long criminal history, but I do know that the state attorney's office, the U.S. attorney's office, the judiciary itself, they look at that and they have sentencing guidelines, and you'll hear a lot about the stiffer punishments, and the legislation over the last couple of years has seen just that. There are stiffer penalties. So I think that we're working on that as a society. And as you mentioned, our job is to arrest an individual. Our job is to make a case and then work with the state attorney's office on the prosecution. And then ultimately the judge will determine how long a sentence an individual will have to serve based upon the set criteria by the legislation.
So we talked about programs to recruit and to be a mentor to young kids, and that's great. I love that idea. Are there programs to curb the crime rate?
Well,
and what have you implemented since you were first elected?
Well, I ran on a platform of engagement and enforcement. So the enforcement side, we're talking about, I've increased the number of narcotics investigators. We're very successful with doing search warrants. So we've served more search warrants this year than we have in any 7 months in previous years. So we're working on that enforcement side. We're working on technology. We're working on getting cameras, and we've implemented a real-time crime center. All this goes towards the
traffic cameras.
No, the real-time crime center. The traffic cameras are typically, when you say traffic cameras, it's the ones that if you run a red light, then you'll get a bill for it. We're talking about a camera system that integrates on a real-time platform into a large room we have at the sheriff's office, so that if something happens, we can go back and review those cameras to see what car may be leaving the site of a crime, what cameras may have passed through a license plate reader. But we also have a network where people can, if they have their own cameras, and many people do have cameras now, where they can register. Right, they can register with the sheriff's office. And while we don't have access to those cameras, we do know, we send an email saying, hey, a crime occurred last night at between 9 and 10.
Oh,
Can you
we
check
see
and see
it?
if you might see something? They can send that to us if they desire.
I've actually participated in that.
Yeah, and you want your neighborhood. You want people to know that if, and I have cameras in my house, and I want to know if there's an incident that takes place in my neighborhood.
I'm willing to help.
I'm going to go back and see if they also try to break into my car. See if I caught the car, driving by. Maybe the only car that drove by between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. That may be the burglars themselves. So we continue to push for the real-time crime center. So the programs that we have on the enforcement side are game changers with regards to law enforcement and the safety of our society. I do think that there's also this engagement side. The Escambia County Sheriff Foundation, we started a foundation when I first got elected, and its current president is Whitney Lucas, who happens to be my chief of staff at the sheriff's office as well. But they have two things that they do. One is engagement for the sheriff's office, and the other is the wellness of the employees of the sheriff's office. So they bought a large screen for us, and we have sheriff's movie nights where we go into areas that don't typically have this opportunity, and we watch a movie, and for 2-3 hours they're not worried about gunfire, they're not worried about drugs, they're there to have a good time. They're here to eat a hot dog or a hamburger, drink a cola.
So
and
community
just watch a movie.
involvement, just being with
Just engaging with our community, building that rapport with them, and that's
Sure.
so the long story was that there's an enforcement side and an engagement side, and we've increased these to levels that have never been seen here in Escambia County.
I think that everything starts at home with the family. What are young children, first off, what are they watching on TV? That probably plays a minor role, but what are their parents doing? What are their aunts and uncles doing? What are their older siblings and cousins doing? The children are influenced at a very early age, their entire lives. So once you have a child who has experienced some negativity, and they're probably on their way to copying it, you have the Blazer Academy. That's open for kids. Not everybody has had such negative impact, but do you see kids entering the Blazer Academy that have had really, really negative influences and impact on their lives? That
We have. I think that it doesn't take a genius to figure out that kids are influenced by everything that they see. They're learning. They're absorbing everything. In school they absorb math and English, but also a dirty joke here or there. They when they're out at the playground, they see things and they learn things, and they're influenced by television and music industry. They're influenced by all of these things. So again, parenting
And if
plays
they
a
don't
large role.
have the reins on them at home,
Right.
if they don't have a schedule, an airtight schedule, bedtime is a certain time, bath time, reading a book, bedtime, getting up, having a good breakfast in the morning, getting to school on time, obeying doing good in class and participating in class, and then somebody to help you do your homework when you get home, somebody to be there at the house when you get home. And
We were talking before we got on air. It's discipline.
Yeah.
You've got to have a discipline. You have to continue to reinforce right versus wrong, and what's acceptable behavior and what is unacceptable behavior. Kids are going to make mistakes. We all understand that.
they're going to copy their parents.
Right, and parents need to be there to explain
And
what
you
a
might
movie means.
you might have the best parents, but then kids have other influences, and they've got to be led back into that straight and narrow line.
That's true.
So, well, thank you for being a community advocate and trying to keep kids, because that's where it starts. I don't think any well, they probably do. Really good kid, good family. Could be a bad family, just a good kid that isn't influenced by that, who is on the straight and narrow on their own, grows up, and then all of a sudden commits a crime.
Well, I mean, we
There's
as
so
a
many
community,
different scenarios.
we're everyone's parent, if you will. I think that football coaches and people that have opportunities to spend some time with these kids, I think that we have an obligation to make our world better than when we had it, and that's, while that's difficult to do, I think it's very important to have that mindset of what can I do to help today? How can I help this child? Law enforcement officers do that all the time. We get a call for service, and we have an opportunity to help somebody, and a lot of times it can be a kind word or instructional word. It can be a harsh word at times. And I think that all of these things, again, play into the role that we as a society have with raising our children.
So if a father is arrested for a crime, and you know that they have a family at home, or do social workers go and do any type of intervention with the family?
They can. It depends on the circumstances. If the father in your scenario is charged with child abuse, then obviously social service
Sure.
will already be involved.
But what if he just like burglarized a place and
If we arrest an individual out in the field, we don't go back and look at their family
home.
situation. There's no reason to do that, because they may be with a parent or grandparent or someone else, and they may be well cared for. Just because the parent may have taken made a bad decision and ended up going to jail, doesn't necessarily mean that wherever their children are, that they could be in danger.
right, not in danger, but they could grow up and repeat what their parents are doing.
Right. Yeah. But there's a line there. I mean, how much does government interfere
Right.
with a family's right
Right.
to raise their children? So again, I think it's important for us to take these opportunities that we do have, and be that positive role model for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job.
Well,
Sounds like
appreciate
you're
it.
like passionate about it.
Well, I think that it boils down to with the number of people that we have going in the same direction. Obviously, very proud of what we have in our. Again, I mentioned our core values once. I'll mention them again: the courtesy and integrity and professionalism. We teach that in our police academy that we talked about. We teach that in the Blazer Academy. We teach that in our Dream Big program. But we live by these core values and these standards. Anything else is simply not acceptable.
Just to act with integrity
Right.
and dignity, and to treat others with integrity and dignity. That's great.
That's what the job's all about.
So what are your goals as sheriff? Like where do you want to see Escambia County in 10 years or 20 years?
Well, I want to make sure that I think that technology is changing the world. I think that law enforcement is no different. And I mentioned our real-time crime center. We're going to continue to incorporate AI. We're going to continue to incorporate the technology that we've already invested millions of dollars in. Our job is to keep up with a growing community. I work with the Board of County Commissioners on a 3-year budget deal, and part of that 3-year budget deal incorporates the addition of 8 deputies this October, 8 the following October, and 8 again the October after that. So we should increase our staff by 24 just in the next 3 years.
And the retention rate is high? People stick with
It's
it?
a difficult job, and it's not for everyone. So we do have attrition, but I think that we can, because we have our own academy now, we can continue to stay ahead of the curve there and continue to add deputies, so there will be more deputies on the street, a more visible presence to go and combine with the technology that I talked about, that intersection of technology and manpower, which I think is going to be vitally important as we move forward. As law enforcement changes, so do the criminals, and we have different drugs, and we have different methods of fraud. I think we can continue to educate people on what we see and where we think we're going to be in the future, so that we can do the best we can for our future generations.
So you went from chief of police to assistant county administrator and then to sheriff.
Well, to chief deputy and then
Sure.
to sheriff, right?
So what's the biggest difference in I know the size, because the city of Pensacola is not as big as Escambia County, so population is different. But what's the biggest difference besides that in the police department and the sheriff's department?
Well, I guess as you mentioned, there's the size. So our call volume is probably 4 times the size of what it was when I was the chief of police. But the sheriff is tasked with a number of different things: process service, and a lot of things are to go towards the subpoena service and that sort of thing. A lot of things or by statute go to the constitutional office of the sheriff. So we have some more drain on our manpower, some constitutional mandates. We serve all the warrants in Escambia County. So
Including
even if it's
in
a
the
city of
city?
Pensacola,
Okay.
we they can pick them up and take them out there. But the warrant service itself is done by the sheriff or sheriff's deputies.
Okay.
So that's a big change. I think that when I was chief of police, I reported to a city manager or a mayor. While they were gracious enough to let me run the police department, there was the city of Pensacola has a number of different things that they were responsible for. So I had to fight for the budget for the fire department and everyone else.
Okay.
At the sheriff's office, while I go to the Board of County Commissioners, once I establish the budget, I have authority to decide where to allocate these resources, and we, as I mentioned, putting it towards manpower and technology. So I have one focus, and that is on law enforcement, and that is at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. And there's some freedom there to do what I feel like I need to do for the betterment of Escambia County.
Who is your immediate boss? Is it the governor?
The people are the immediate boss.
Right.
The governor can, by the state statute, remove an elected official, but only if they have committed a crime or if they're malfeasance or dereliction of duty. They just up and leave the office. Then the governor can remove that person and appoint someone else. But really, I report to the people
Because you're an elected
I'm a
official, so you work for
constitutionally
everybody
elected
in Escambia
official.
County.
That's correct.
Whereas at the city, you were appointed by the mayor.
That's correct. Well, I was appointed by the city manager, and then we changed forms of government,
Okay.
and then ultimately it was the mayor. So I was that
The
in
first strong
between
mayor,
type
yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
I remember
So
that.
I was the police chief under both forms of government, and now the sheriff of Escambia County.
So it's kind of a promotion to go from being appointed chief of police to being elected by everybody in the county to the position.
I guess it depends on who you talk to. There are
It's
some
probably a lot
values
more-
to being both.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the city of Pensacola, when I was police chief, I didn't have to run for office. So every 4 years, you didn't have to stop, a lot of things you're doing
And knock on doors.
make sure that people understand why they should
Yeah.
reelect you. And you didn't have that as an appointed chief of police. But, my old boss, Lou Goss, used to say, I run for office every day. You have to keep my
Sure.
job every day because you can
Yeah.
be fired at any moment.
Well, that's a good mindset
Which
to
is true.
have. Yeah.
Which is true. So is it a promotion? The job is bigger.
Yeah.
The people the
You have
society,
to
the place you
delegate
do.
more tasks to different departments, and there's a lot. I mean, I would imagine it's a bigger job. You've got the jail over. Well, no, the
Yeah, we don't
county
run
runs
the
the jail.
That's correct. At
okay.
the police department, I had about 212 employees. I have.
I bet a lot of people don't really understand that.
Right, I have well over
But
700 now at the sheriff's office. Yeah, you talk about the jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Because you don't
people
really think about it.
associate-
You just think that it's the sheriff's
Right.
office and
County
the jail.
County Sheriff's
Yeah.
Office. In all but, I want to say, 7 or 8 counties, the sheriff does run the jail. By statute, the Board of County Commissioners in all counties is responsible for a county jail facility. And they're also required to have what they call a chief corrections officer. So they can appoint one person. In almost all these counties, they request the sheriff to be the chief corrections officer. And in this particular cases, the sheriff agrees to do so. So it's one of those things where the county can't say, sheriff, you're going to run the jail. That's up to the sheriff to run the jail. And in this case, the county would have to approach me and if say, hey, would you consider running the jail? Then we'd have those conversations. But they're running the jail and it's working out just fine. And so there's other agencies that don't run the jail either, but there's very few. The vast majority the sheriff's office do run the jail because of efficiencies. They have uniforms and recruiting, and there's so many similarities. They can exchange personnel based upon what certifications they have. So a lot of things there are some advantages to it. But again, that's by state statute. The Escambia County is responsible for the jail.
So, but they hire people.
They
have
hire corrections officers, yes. And so there's 2 different entities: the sheriff's office, and then the corrections, Escambia County Corrections.
So yeah, it's a lot bigger than you like when you start thinking about it. It's really a lot bigger than you can imagine.
Well, even
so
when I
many
came
different
over, there was
departments
a
and-
learning curve for the
Yeah.
first year or so to really figure out
Yeah.
all the immense.
If it's a learning
job
curve
that it
for
is.
you, the average person has no idea what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, we have a sheriff's office, main office. We have a training building. We have a gym facility, a property facility. We have our own garage. We have a precinct on Pensacola Beach. We have a precinct in Warrington, one in Perdido. We have one in Molina. We have one in Century.
Cantonment.
We have one in Inslee. Yeah, we have all of these substations. It just shows you the sheer size of the operation that we have at the sheriff's office.
Well, congratulations for making it there.
Well, thank
I
you.
think you're doing a great job.
I really
and I'm
appreciate
proud to
that.
have you as our sheriff. I just can't imagine a better person for the job.
Well, I appreciate it. I work with some very good people. I'm in the.
You
I
were
believe
groomed
God is
for,
good.
you were raised for it. Like you knew at an early age that this is what you wanted to do, and that's what you set out to do, and you are focused, and you're doing it. So
Yeah, I
do you
think-
have? I'm sorry. Do you have any closing statements?
Well,
What
you,
about
you mentioned, groom forward. Again, I think you're as good as the people you surround yourself with, and I'm very proud to have the people that I work with.
Absolutely. It was great to have you on. I'd like to
Thank
have you
you.
on the show again. So, the Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. This show is made possible by Ida Gates, Godly Teas LLC, Alpha Fence Company, our guest, Sheriff Chip Simmons of Escambia County, and we want to thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye bye.